Did Johnny Depp violently assault Amber Heard during their relationship, which ended in 2016? That question is at the heart of the Depp v. Heard defamation trial, which is going to be kicking off on April 11th, 2022. A trial which will be live streamed right here on this channel as soon as a jury has been selected by the parties and the court allows the cameras in the courtroom for the remainder. At the time of recording, the judge expects that to be on Tuesday, April 12th, but we will see how long this actually takes for the two parties to agree on a jury. Now, in this video, we are going to go over two of the main incidents that were alleged by Amber Heard, in which she says that Johnny violently assaulted her. And what we're going to do is we're going to analyze them along with information that has been made publicly available. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome to Legalbytes. If you are new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. So first off, if you don't know much about this case, I really recommend that you first watch our video on a primer on this case. It's linked in the description down below and will be probably linked on this screen as well. That video will give you a basic idea of what this case is about, the basic legal claims, and the history behind the litigation itself. So if you watch that, you'll be able to better understand some of the details in this video. Otherwise, we are about to get into two of the main incidents that were alleged by Amber Heard, the so-called December 15th, 2015 incident and the May 21st, 2016 incident. I know that there are a lot of details surrounding both of these incidents, probably enough to fill several hours of video time. My aim in this video is to reduce it down to the core components of each incident so that we don't get so stuck in the weeds of the details here, but we do have enough in here so that we can do a good faith analysis of each incident. Okay, let's jump into it. So let's start with the December 15th, 2015 incident. I'm going to read some portions of Amber Heard's declaration dated April 10th, 2019, where she goes into detail about this incident. Here she says, "On the night of December 15th, 2015, I had plans to meet my friends Raquel, Rocky Pennington, and Melanie at Johnny's and my penthouse in Los Angeles. Before they arrived, Johnny picked another fight with me. He threw another decanter at me, knocked items around the room, and punched the wall. He slapped me hard, grabbed me by my hair, and dragged me from a stairwell to the office, to the living room, to the kitchen, to the bedroom, and then to the guest room. In the process, he pulled large chunks of hair and scalp out of my head. Hoping to avoid the violence, I tried to calm Johnny down and then went upstairs to try to remove myself from the situation. Johnny followed me, hit me in the back of my head, grabbed me by my hair again, got in front of me on the steps, and then dragged me by my hair up the last few steps. At the top of stairs, Johnny shoved me twice, which made me fear I would fall. I told Johnny that he had broken my wrist in an attempt to get him to stop. Johnny kept hitting me, and each time he knocked me down, I chose to react by simply standing up and looking him in the eye. Johnny responded by yelling, 'Oh, you think you're an effing tough guy?' This has been censored by me personally for the YouTube algorithm. He reeled back and headbutted me in the face, bashing my nose, which immediately began bleeding, sending searing pain through my face. I instantly started tearing up and I thought that I would have to go to the hospital. I told Johnny I wanted to leave him and that I will call the police if he ever touched me again. When I began to walk away towards the guest apartment, he responded by pushing me, then grabbed me and pulled me from one room to the next, gripping me by my hair." And according to this declaration, Amber says that as a result of this whole incident, she suffered cuts, bruising, and swelling. And according to her testimony at trial in Johnny's lawsuit against the publisher for The Sun, she said that on that night, she actually suffered a broken nose, 2 black eyes, a busted lip, and bruising around her head. She produced photos for the public that she says show her injuries from that night. And as a side note, the authenticity of all of Amber's photos that she has produced to the public are at issue in this case. And that is largely because Amber's legal team, to put it charitably, has made it very, very difficult for Johnny's legal team to get access to these photos so that they can perform a forensic analysis of the metadata of these photos. As a litigator, for me personally, this is kind of a red flag, and for a couple reasons. First, this is in spite of a court order by the judge saying that Amber's team had to provide all of this evidence to Johnny's team for the purposes of authentication through the forensic analysis. And second, generally speaking, as a litigator, when I have had a case that had really good evidence that helped my client quite a bit, I am more than happy to provide it to the other side so that they can know just how good my case is. So the fact that they are actually trying to hide the ball here, it seems, either through intentional behavior or perhaps being charitable, maybe some level of incompetence, either from the lawyers or from their experts that are supposed to be providing this data to the other side, it's just a lot of questions and a lot of red flags. But aside from that, there is some objective evidence that we can look at to compare to Amber's account of what happened. And that's because on the very next day, on December 16th, 2015, she appeared on the James Corden show to promote the release of The Danish Girl. In that film, she played as a ballerina, so part of her responsibilities as one of the stars of the film, of course, was to go on a promotional tour. So here's a clip from the James Corden show where she describes some of her experiences for preparing for that role. Okay, now I have never personally suffered a broken nose, thank goodness. So I don't know exactly how it feels from a subjective standpoint, but I do expect Johnny's legal team to produce a medical expert to testify as to what these injuries should look like around 24 hours or even within 24 hours after the incident. And I would expect that expert to say that within that time period, you should expect to see not only bruising, but also swelling and intense sensitivity to the area, not just on the nose, but around the nose. But okay, maybe she is a consummate professional, and for the purposes of her appearance on the James Corden show, she was able to basically muscle her way through it and just sort of recover afterwards. And maybe her stylist is the Michael Jordan of stylists and was able to cover up all of these massive injuries with some really, really good contouring. I don't know about the likelihood, but let's just say that it's theoretically possible. But now that I mentioned that stylist, it would be helpful to hear what that person remembered from styling Amber up that day. I mean, this is someone whose literal job is to seek out and find any and all imperfections on Amber's face and body and to cover them up or doll them up or basically make them invisible so that she looks flawless on TV. And as it turns out, Samantha McMillan, the stylist who actually did Amber's makeup that day, did in fact testify at the Sun trial through a witness statement. Here's what she said. She said that she had spent much of the afternoon and early evening with Amber in preparation for her appearance on the James Corden show. And she said that on that day, on December 16th, 2015, she could actually see clearly that Amber had no marks, cuts, or bruises. She also said that after the show, Amber came up to her and said, "Can you believe that I did that show with 2 black eyes?" or something to that effect. And this is important because this means that Amber had actually brought the condition of her eyes to the attention of Samantha. So if she hadn't spent much time looking at them before, she certainly was in response to that question. So what did Samantha McMillan say about the condition of Amber's eyes? She said that she could see no black eyes. So that's the December incident. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below, and let's turn to the May 21st, 2016 incident. So just like with the December incident, I'm going to read portions from Amber's declaration dated April 10th, 2019 to get her details on what she says happened that night. And she says, "On May 21st, 2016, Johnny and I met at our home in downtown Los Angeles to discuss our relationship. His behavior was erratic, and as I felt increasingly unsafe, I texted Josh and Rocky, who lived next door, to have them come over. I also called our mutual friend Io Tillett Wright to mollify Johnny. Johnny started to scream at Io over the phone, left to go upstairs, then came back downstairs and grabbed my phone, threatening Io and calling him names. At some point, Io yelled at me to, quote, get out of the house. When Johnny heard that, he wound up like a baseball pitcher and threw the phone at my face as hard as he could. I yelled, "You hit my face," and started to cry. I had been sitting on the couch, cross-legged, and Johnny grabbed my hair and started to slap, shake, and yank me around the room while I continued to scream. I was questioned about this topic during my August 13th, 2016 deposition. Rocky had a key to our penthouse and let herself in. When she entered, Johnny noticed, turned, and let go of me, allowing me to retreat to the corner sofa. Both Johnny and Rocky ran toward me at the same time. Rocky threw herself in between Johnny and me and raised her arms. Johnny ran into Rocky and pushed her arms down. She calmly planted herself and said, "Stop, Johnny." Johnny grabbed Rocky's arms again and threw them to her sides. I collapsed onto the couch with Johnny standing over me. Johnny repeatedly screamed at me, "Get the F up, Amber." Again, this has been censored by me for the purposes of the YouTube algorithm. I did not move, and Johnny got closer, screaming, "Get the F up, Amber," about 10 times. At some point, Rocky got between us and placed her arms over me protectively. The door opened and someone yelled, "Boss, boss." Jerry Judge and Sean Bett, Johnny's private security guards, came in. Johnny stood up, and then I stood up. I ran to the corner of the room and said, "Jerry, he hit me. If he hits me one more time, I'm calling the police. I will call the police." At the time, I did not realize that Io had been on speakerphone since Johnny had thrown my phone at my face. I later learned that at some point, Io had hung up and called 911. Johnny smashed various objects around the house with a wine bottle as he left. Josh, Rocky's fiancé, entered and told Rocky and me to stay in Penthouse 1, the neighboring penthouse Josh and Rocky lived in. Josh met Johnny in the hallway where they squared off. Johnny did not touch Josh. Instead, Johnny smashed more items in the hallway, spilled wine everywhere, and kicked a hole in a solid door. Johnny then demanded to be let into Penthouse 5, my apartment where all of my belongings were at the time. Either Jerry or Sean opened the door despite my repeated requests not to let Johnny in due to his long-standing history of destroying my possessions when he would get angry. After entering, Johnny destroyed everything he could and chased Liz Mars out of the penthouse carrying a wine bottle. He also destroyed all of Rocky's beads, which she used in her work, that were supposed to be used in her show the next day. Johnny's security guards stood by the entire time. In addition, here is a clip from Amber's August 13th, 2016 deposition where she describes this incident again.
I remember it's him screaming these expletives at my friend Io and telling her that she could have me now, and then he threw his arm back and he threw the phone. What appeared to be very as hard as he could at my face. Put my head down. I said, "You hit me." I was crying. I said, "Johnny, you hit me," because then I start hearing things being smashed, and I said to him, "Honey, you hit me in the eye, my eye." And I start crying, and he approaches me, and I don't know if I, in here feeling him approach, anticipate to try to get up, or if I help him help me up, or if he just did it all by grabbing my hair. But for some reason, I had some aid in getting up off the couch by him grabbing my head, mostly on my right side, like the impact of which was significant in and of itself. He grabs my, grabs my head, takes a fistful of my hair and says, I hit your eye, huh? Let me see your eye. Let me see your eye. What if I pull your hair back?" And he yanks my head back, and he's, I don't know, smacking my face or moving my face, and he's got me by the hair, and he's, it's hard to describe. It's like yanking me from side to side with my hair.
Are you standing up at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. And has he pulled out any hair from your head?
He's still holding on to my head.
Okay.
At this time, and he said, I don't know if he's trying to grab my face or if he's hitting my face, or I don't know what's happening, but he's yelling at me, he's screaming about let's see how hard I hit you, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Okay.
Help, please, help. I guess I say call 911. I'm screaming for help, not just in case Io is on the phone, which I don't know because the phone is somewhere after hitting my face. I don't know where it ricocheted and bounced off to, but it's on the floor. I can only hope she's on the line, but I know and guess security is somewhere, and even though they never respond when I'm screaming help, ever, I'm screaming help as loud as I can. I had also text Rocky previous. It's amping up. He's getting crazy again. Please just, I need you to come over. Because I thought another third party might be, a third party being present helps always to,
Is it your testimony?
calm things.
Is it your testimony, Ms.
Take a
Heard,
break,
that-
please.
No.
She's upset. She's upset. It's
She's
clear
not-
that she's crying and she's upset, Blair. How could you possibly force her to answer
Because
questions
I see
when she's
the
crying
witness
and
is
upset?
not upset and hasn't requested. Do you
I'm
need to take a
requesting on her
break,
behalf.
Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Let the record reflect Mr. Harder's answering for Ms. Heard, yes,
answered as
and Ms. Heard has
She-
responded yes. We'll take a break and go off record at this.
In addition, here is a photo that Amber provided as evidence of her face and specifically the injuries that she says that she suffered as a result of Johnny's actions that night. And here are some photos that she provided to support the contention that Johnny essentially destroyed the apartment on his way out that night. As you can see, there are items that are scattered on the floors. There's a door or a wall that's been smashed up, and there's red wine spilled on the hardwood floors, on the carpet, and on the wall. There's also a lot of broken glass from frames that she says Johnny smashed on his way out. Again, the authenticity of all of these photos is at issue for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. But aside from that, there also are some discrepancies as to when Amber's friend Raquel Pennington, or Rocky, arrived, and specifically how she arrived. That's because Johnny's bodyguards, Jerry Judge and Sean Bett, said that they were standing just outside the main entrance of the penthouse as this whole incident was unfolding. And they apparently said that they never saw her come in. So either these guys were lying, or she arrived after Johnny, Jerry, and Sean left the penthouse, or maybe she arrived through some other undisclosed entrance that is not publicly available because she was in a penthouse that was adjacent to this one. So there is a possibility that there's some other entrance, or she was already in this penthouse at the time that Johnny arrived that night. But either way, there are a lot of questions as to where Rocky was and when during this incident. Now, aside from that, there are much bigger questions as to Amber's allegations about the condition of this apartment during and after this incident. As Amber alleges in her declaration, Io called 911 at some point during this incident. As a result of that call, the LAPD arrived not once, but twice that night. The first time was approximately an hour-ish after the incident, and the second time was about an hour after that. Now, the first thing to note is that both sets of officers testified that they had to insist upon coming inside in order to take a look around the penthouse and to take a look at Amber's condition. Otherwise, she and her friends essentially didn't want them in the apartment for whatever reason. But despite the protestations of Amber and her friends, the police said that they needed to come in so that they could rule out the possibility that she was declining help under duress. Make of that what you will. But anyway, the first visit was by officers Haddon and Sands. Officer Haddon was deposed during this litigation to testify as to what he saw in the apartment and about Amber's condition that night. In that deposition, he said that he and Officer Sands inspected the entire penthouse that night. And despite that inspection, he says that they found no spilled red wine, no indicia of vandalism, no broken glass, no broken bottles, nothing. He said he also observed Amber for injuries and saw none. No swelling, no bruising, none. Remember that this was about an hour after the incident, so I would think that there would be something that would be showing up by that point. And he said that when he asked Amber if she wanted medical attention, she refused. When he asked Amber if she wanted to file a police report, she refused. Again, make of that what you will. Okay, so then officers Haddon and Sands leave, and then about an hour, two other officers arrive. This time, the officers had body cameras on them, and that has been made publicly available. So let's take a look at some portions of that body cam footage. So as you can see, they had to insist upon coming in, and when they did, everything was pretty tidy and actually kind of boring. There's no broken glass, no red wine stains anywhere, nothing on the floor. And when they go to talk to Amber and her friends, they're incredibly nonchalant and almost bored with the idea that the police are there. So the condition of the apartment as observed by the LAPD officers doesn't really support the narrative that Amber has alleged about this event. Now, it is possible that Amber and her friends could have cleaned up everything within the hour before those first two police officers arrived. Items could have been picked up from the floor and put away. Maybe they rushed around the apartment and swept up all of the glass and even replaced the frames and the door and maybe filled drywall in the place that Amber says that Johnny punched the wall. And maybe then they repainted it. And maybe they used some kind of a miracle cleaner for the red wine stains on the carpet. Even if all of that happened, it still raises a question. And now, I've never been in a domestic violence situation, thank goodness. So I can't say that I have personal experience into the psychology of domestic violence survivors following a violent incident. And I can definitely appreciate that different people may react differently to the arrival of the police at their home. But I also understand that when domestic violence survivors face coming forward to the police about these kinds of incidents, they often have to contend with the prospect of being gaslit about their claims. So I would think that it would be very important for Amber to do two things about the condition of the penthouse that night. First, I would think that she would be very interested in preserving the condition of that apartment if she knew that 911 had been called and if she understood that the police were on their way to come and talk to them. Second, I would think that it would be also very important to her to show the police the various places around the penthouse where this violent incident actually occurred and where there is still evidence of that violence through broken glass, spilled wine, etc. But based on what the police said and based on the body cam footage, it looks like she did neither. This is very strange in my personal opinion. And to me, the evidence that has been made publicly available just doesn't support Amber's narrative for either of these two incidents, the December 15th, 2015 incident and the May 21st, 2016 incident. Now, does that mean that there was no violence committed by Johnny Depp against Amber at any point in their relationship? Of course not. But it does call into question Amber's credibility when you start to see a pattern of, let's just say, embellishments to her story. But what do you think? Do you think that Amber is telling the truth about these incidents, or does this look like more of a fiery pants situation? Also, do you think that there is anything important that I left out? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I would love it if you would hit the like button. It does help us with the YouTube algorithm gods. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can find out when the next video is uploaded. And most importantly, so you can catch the live stream of this trial directly on this channel with legal commentary. See you in the next video.